On this week's 51%, how do you go from burnt out to chilled out? We speak with lifestyle writer and holistic health expert Angela Coleman about how you can better prioritize yourself in her new guide, The Art of Chilling Out for Women.
I would love for women to be able to, when asked, what are you doing? And they say, nothing much, chilling out, and they feel good about it. That part of doing nothing is actually doing something really great and wonderful and magical for your health.
I'm Jessie King. It's all up next on 51%.
I was standing around like one of those girls I had seen in a movie. The whole world was a movie back then. I had my sunglasses on, I wanted to be seen without seeing shy Lolita. I wasn't really in it, I didn't really get it.
You're listening to 51%, a WAMC production dedicated to women's issues and experiences. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jessie King. Full disclosure, I just got back from vacation, and part of me wishes I could say it was the kind of vacation where you just sit on a beach and do nothing all day, but it was more like the kind of vacation where you run around trying to see everything you possibly can while you're there. To be honest, chilling out has never really been my forte, but I'm trying to do better. And as our guest today will tell us, taking a break is key to avoiding that word we've all heard since the coronavirus pandemic, burnout. Angela Coleman is a lifestyle writer who has written over 20 books for women and girls centered around empowerment and holistic health. With a degree in psychology from Princeton University and training in trauma and natural well-being, Coleman founded the nonprofit organization Sisterhood Agenda in 1994 to help women and girls connect with resources and find sisterhood programs around the world. Her latest book is The Art of Chilling Out for Women, 100+ ways to replace worry and stress with spiritual healing, self-care, and self-love. In it, she offers 101 tips for what she calls a holistic approach to self-care, from journaling and daily affirmations to methods that some might feel are a little more out there, like scents and feng shui. I should point out that these things we're discussing today should not be treated like replacements for therapy, medical treatment, or public assistance programs, and Coleman stresses you should seek professional help for extreme cases of burnout, anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses. After all, self-care is not just a bubble bath at the end of the day, and it's not exactly helpful to talk about self-care if you don't even have a roof over your head. But for those of us who are on the go and maybe taking care of loved ones every day, it can be hard to imagine taking a break without feeling guilty. Sometimes you just gotta find that 5 minutes where you can catch a breath, and today is about how we can start small. Coleman says her guide offers a range of little things you can pick, choose, and sprinkle throughout your day to pick yourself up and bring your stress down. So sit back, relax, maybe break out a few candles. Here is our conversation with Angela Coleman. So I think it's safe to say that we all have stress, men and women alike. Why did you want to write a book specifically for women? What obstacles do you feel women are particularly facing, I guess, on this front when it comes to self-care?
We do all struggle with stress, but there are some particularly gendered responses that I wanted to address in this book, The Art of Chilling Out for Women, although I do share it with my male friends and they read it. So it's wonderful that they do. Some of the socialization that we've received since we were young has impacted our decision making and our perceptions, as well as expectations, of our behavior and activities. And a lot of these expectations we've become so accustomed and used to. We call it custom or tradition or culture, and some of them are unreasonable in today's society, and they need a little bit of an adjustment. And so I'm thinking with caregiving in particular, where not just with children, but also aging parents and pets in the family and anything else that's living and breathing, in your household. And the pandemic made that pretty clear also. It brought a lot of things to light for people who hadn't experienced a lot of the gender disparities in what we call work, whether it's domestic chores or career tasks, whether you're on your own business or you have an employer. We were a lot of ways overburdened when children staying at home with virtual school, which ended up being more like homeschool, which will also require hands-on parenting, all day, every day, not just, during the weekends. So I do think that in a good way, it really encouraged people to embrace the opportunity to change, change how we think about things, change and pivot how we were doing things, and look at ways that serve us and serve our best interests better. So chilling out is really a natural rhythm of life. It's saying to embrace that. It's not saying to not do anything and not be productive, because a lot of times that's what we interpret it as when we're doing quote unquote nothing. You don't want to be labeled as a lazy person. You don't want to be labeled as someone who's not a good mother or good parent or a good daughter, or a good friend. And on top of that, there are things in the community we want to do, service and charity and other things. So if we take on it all and then we don't give ourselves time and space and honor our need to rest and restore and recuperate, that stress can be very dangerous. It manifests itself in a lot of ways. And with a holistic health approach, stress management and stress manifests itself in our physical, our mental, and our spiritual readiness, our health, our aptitude, our potential. So it's much better to choose to chill out than be forced to chill out through a medical event or something that just knocks you down, or from burnout. And that mental health component is really key and important. All of them work together to fortify a person, to help you to self-actualize for your success, for your happiness. So as women, we, I think, need to be more comfortable with chilling out. We don't want someone to tell us, oh, you need to chill out. That's offensive, right? So if we choose to do it ourselves, we incorporate it into our everyday. It's not one more thing we have to do. It's a lifestyle. And there are things that we can just change in our environment that will naturally enhance our mood, enhance our well-being. And those are the things that I point out in The Art of Chilling Out for Women.
I appreciate you pointing out your approach and the ways the book is kind of divided into like mind, body, and spirit. Could you just go into that a little bit more for me about how you feel those things all interact? What happens if you focus on one but not the others?
Yes, absolutely. I think some of us, we're all unique, right? So how we are affected by any external stimulation is unique too. So how our mind, how our bodies, how our spirits are impacted by what occurs to us or environments we're in, circumstances and experiences will be different, but they do all respond. Your body, your mind, and your spirit all do have responses. And some people tend to be more focused on the body, or some people tend to be more focused on the mind. Some people tend to be more focused on spirit. So if you're focusing more on body, maybe you focus on exercise. Maybe you're very aware when you are in an uncomfortable or a negative environment. Maybe your digestion is affected. Maybe you're sensitive to certain things and you get headaches, or you have other stress responses. Lack of appetite or increased need for comfort food, or you have trembling. Some people literally have physical signs. The other aspect of mind, body, spirit is, of course, your mind. So some people might sit more in their logic, right? Their mind can just explain everything away. Just using your mind and say, oh, I feel this way because, or I just need to get over it and move on because, there's something you really want to do. Your spirit is that internal guide, your intuition. And I have a section called Obey Your Soul Voice. It's that voice inside. It's never going to lie to you. It's always looking out for you. And your mind can override your spirit voice, your soul voice, and say, oh yeah, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel safe. My spirit's telling me this isn't a good environment for me. But I got to work and I got to pay the bills. And so I'm in a toxic work environment. Your body may also be telling you every time you interact with a certain manager or supervisor or person in your workplace, your body has a physical response to that. You start to feel sick or you sweat a lot. We have to pay attention to those cues. That's letting us know, okay, you need to change this because that's not a good feeling, and that's not also a natural feeling. That's saying that's not a good environment for you to be in. It's encouraging you to make a change. Our body will also tell us, and our spirits and minds will also tell us when we need rest. We can talk ourselves out of it. We can push forward. We can ignore it, but we do so kind of at our own peril. We do so at the expense of ourselves.
Now, your book has 101 tips on little ways to look at your stress. We obviously can't cover them all here, but would you like to share a few of your favorites with us?
Well, I think focusing on the self-sabotage is interesting. And also, I think there's another section, making time for time out. I think that's so important because it's saying to release the guilt or the feeling bad about taking time for yourself, or to say that you don't have time to engage in activities that no longer serve you, or that you've decided you want to pause or maybe never go back to doing again. And when you're saying take time for yourself, it sounds so easy, but it's also so basic and simple. And the rest and restoration is what all animals and creatures and even plants in nature do. They know how to shut off. And nothing burns brightly 100%, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's where the term burnout comes from, because sometimes just even turning off for a little bit and then turning back on restores, replenishes, and renews it. The source of energy. In this case, the source of energy is you. There's a section I have on car, I think, which is that's called Drive the Car. Our world has been through some huge changes on a global scale. And I outline in this particular section 3 stages to attain peace and balance. So CAR is an acronym, CAR. The C stands for change acceptance. The A stands for adaptive action. And the R stands for relaxation and letting go. And all of those things work in tandem with each other. You have to, but there's an order to it. If you don't accept the change, which is the first step, change acceptance, you're in a loop of fight or flight, and you're in resistance, and that's stress for your body. So accepting changes, especially those that you don't have any personal control over, is most important, but recognizing the personal power that you do have and being able to still act, and change your behavior in a way that's beneficial for you, even though something in the environment has changed. So the adaptive action, that's where that comes from. Really saying, hey, how am I going to move forward? And realizing it's okay to be stuck sometimes, but not to stay there. And to say, okay, at some point I've got to get out of this. And how do I do that? Making a change because you're responding to change. Recognizing that change is a constant. We're always going to be, in a constant state of change. Nothing is the same today as it is tomorrow, like literally. And you aren't either, especially if you're on a really active journey for self-development and transformation. You're not the same as you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And so things are going to change. So accepting that and moving forward then allows you to say, okay, I've done what I could to respond to this change, and now I can relax and I can let it go. And the letting go is so important because then that opens up the door for other blessings and for renewed energy and new beginnings. And sometimes when a door does close with a change, we think of, oh, that's a loss. We think in terms of loss. We think in terms of limited potential or scarcity. And instead, I encourage everyone to think of closed doors as a way to steer you. And again, that's your spirit steering you to where you actually need to go, and to look at all of the doors that are open, because that's probably the path that you are destined to follow. And you won't realize it until you're on it, and even maybe later in time, and say, that was the best decision that I ever made. That was a better decision for me than the other one that I thought was good for me.
You've got a good collection of stuff that you say people can kind of cherry pick from too, even methods from Eastern cultures like feng shui. I really like your inclusion of affirmations though, just things you can say to yourself throughout the day. How do you feel that helps? How is that like a good sort of like launching point to taking more time for yourself? And I guess what is the benefit to that kind of self-talk?
For each section of the book, I do have what I call holistic prescriptions, and I have affirmation. And each holistic prescription includes a call to action and Mother Nature herbs, natural healing, as well as gemstones and feng shui. I'm looking at how we can incorporate these tried and true ancient practices that have been practiced for multiple cultures, across centuries, and using things that are very accessible to us. So again, it's not something you have to go out and get. The Mother Nature and Herbs section utilizes herbs that are very common, are very likely to be found in your kitchen cabinet. And the feng shui principles are things that also you probably already have, or it's actually asking you to edit and maybe move some things around, and even donate, give away, just get rid of some things too, like clutter. So affirmations, I think, are the perfect thing to do, especially for busy people who say, well, I don't have the time to do another thing. Everybody has, literally 5 seconds to recite an affirmation. And an affirmation is positive self-talk phrased in the present. And what it does is, what it does so powerfully is that it replaces or supplements the positive energy and cheerleading for yourself, advocating for yourself, empowering yourself. For example, the drive the car section that I was talking about, the affirmation for that section is, I adapt easily to change, knowing that it supports my highest good. It's phrased in the present, it's saying I'm doing it. It helps your mind to visualize it. So creative visualization is the key to manifestation. It's phrasing it in the present because it's saying it exists already. Now I'm going to do this, or I have done this, I am doing this now. And that replaces, talk that maybe as I mentioned, sometimes your mind can talk you out of things and talk you into things that aren't great for you, or make you stay in places where you really kind of shouldn't be. When I say stay in places, I don't just mean physically, I also mean, mentally and spiritually. And also are remnants of our past, our personal history, our personal experiences. So maybe how you were raised, something a parent has said to you, something that somebody did or said to you that affected your self-esteem, and you still carry it and believe it, and you talk yourself using their words instead of your words. So this replaces any negative self-talk with your positive self-talk, because we talk to ourselves more than other people talk to us every day. And some of us don't realize how much we're talking to ourselves. So this is saying, we're making it obvious and clear, and we're making this statement. And again, it's a great manifestation tool that takes 5 minutes. You can say it in the morning. You can say it when you think about it. You can say it when, I need a little pick-me-up. You can literally just use the book as a reference guide and choose an affirmation. You can see which one is most applicable at you, that resonates with you at any particular time. Certain things that you might be going on in your life make a section of the book and the affirmation much more relevant. So I really believe, before you go to bed at night, I would encourage people to include affirmations in any of their healthy habits. And that ritualizes it, makes it a ritual. And that ritual is just a daily practice that helps you to stay on track. Because once you find your inner peace and your chilling out mode, and you're just so cool and calm and collected, and you have to maintain that. So maintaining it with a ritual, staying in ritual, is one way to do that.
We're speaking with Angela Coleman, author of The Art of Chilling Out for Women. I thought I'd ask because, I guess, fun fact about myself, when I'm not at work, when I'm not doing this show, I volunteer as a crisis counselor sometimes. And basically, it's about giving temporary relief to people in crisis. So it's helping them get through the moment and reach a cooler calm just to get to the other side of it. And a lot of the time, it can be about helping them find like a distraction, or just getting some sense of escape to stop them from spiraling out. Or it's a lot about just reminding them that they even have the power to self-soothe, that they have the tools around them to calm themselves down. Like, you can listen to music, or spend time with a loved one, go for a walk. In your experience, in those moments where you're just suddenly overwhelmed with something or hit with something that's very stressful, what are some ways that you like to ground yourself and get away for a second, beyond maybe the affirmations, or something longer that might take up most of your day?
Absolutely. With my nonprofit Sisterhood Agenda, we have a great big girls empowerment program, and we do teach this to young people as well. With my certifications in psychological first aid and suicide prevention, I encourage everyone to establish a daily ritual of emotional balancing that helps to prepare you, that preps your day, but also one for emergency use. So it depends, just as trauma and healing looks different and is unique to each person. And as I mentioned, how we react to stimuli and how focused or mind-centric or body-centric or spirit-centric, which for some people, spirit is religion for them. For other people, it's meditation and prayer. To have some type of ritual that you can rely on in times of need, because there will be times when you're thrown totally off center and your balance is what happened to it, right? You're triggered in some way and you need to respond. So it could be as simple as deep breathing, because one of the things we do with stress, fight or flight, is restrict our breathing, and we do it unconsciously. And that's what tends to, over time, lead to heart disease and other problems. Instead of constricting our air, we sometimes need to remind ourselves, okay, let's do our deep breathing now. Be for 5 seconds, it could be for 10 seconds, but it makes a world of difference. Light a candle, light a scented candle, depending on what's going on. Aromatherapy, I also talk about aromatherapy in the book, but the candle represents also the fire element, passion, but also things that you can literally burn away and release. And lighting that candle is very good for enhancing the mood. You can go outside. Nature therapy is what I encourage every day. Even if you just take a little break for 2 minutes, go outside, literally smell the flowers, touch the trees, ground yourself with your feet in the grass. Picture yourself like a tree, because trees are deep rooted, they're solid, they're there, looks like forever. And they've been there, they're historical, they're alive, they go through their different seasons, and they also bend and adapt to the wind so that they can stabilize themselves. And they're ever present, and even the green, or even in the winter times, the trunks itself can be very healing and grounding, because that's the wood element, which is healing and grounding. The color green, so the color therapy, the feng shui, I talk about different colors, earth colors, yellow, orange, they can also help to be very grounding. Bringing the outside in, so bringing in the flowers, literally smelling roses, will help to increase loving vibrations, help to increase self-love and compassion. If sometimes we need for ourselves, especially patience in our process, whatever our healing journeys are looking like, whatever our chilling out is looking like. Walking. I love meditative walks where I don't have anything in particular. I'm not listening to music. I'm just kind of letting my mind free flow. I might even count my steps. The counting repetition gives me some peace. You know, your hobbies. So if you like to, I like to paint or draw or color. If you like listening to music, if you like trying new recipes, develop hobbies, develop things that bring you joy and pleasure so you can incorporate that into your life. Pets, you know, my little fur baby princess, she's always like in my life. I can take a break and pet her and play with her, and I feel good. It makes me feel better. I'm also interacting with nature. I'm also nurturing something outside of myself. Listening to your intuition. When you're feeling, you've got to get to a still space. I encourage in the art of chilling out that you have a sacred space that's just for you, that is specific for your chilling out purpose. If you're feeling a certain way, in need of stress relief, to go to that sacred space, go to that chilling out spot and be still so that you can start to regain your equilibrium back again. For me also, I like soft fabrics and throws. That's the yin. It's very comforting to me. The feng shui element of soft, feminine, and it makes me feel good. So I like to do that. So, you know, just having a throw around me. It makes me feel protected, makes me feel comfortable. Unplugging from social media, from technology, taking a little break. That break can be 5 minutes, or it could be 5 hours. It could be overnight. It's up to you. Moving your body and exercise gets the endorphins going. That's helpful as well when you're feeling like you have pent up energy, especially if you have hurt and anger. It's good to physically move your body.
Well, Angela, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today. If there was one thing, what do you hope readers most take away from this book?
I would love for women to be able to, when asked, what are you doing? And they say, nothing much, chilling out, and they feel good about it. And because that part of doing nothing is actually doing something really great and wonderful and magical for your health. And I also encourage feedback. I'd love to hear readers' thoughts after they read it, what they think, what was most useful and helpful to them, and just some feedback in general.
Angela Coleman is a lifestyle writer and holistic health expert who has written over 20 books for women and girls centered around empowerment and self-care. Her latest book is The Art of Chilling Out for Women, 100 plus ways to replace worry and stress with spiritual healing, self-care, and self-love. It's out now through Adams Media. You can learn more about her nonprofit Sisterhood Agenda at sisterhoodagenda.com. And again, while all the things we've discussed today can be great at helping your mood, they're not replacements for therapy or medical treatment. If you or someone you love is in crisis, know you're not alone and help is available. You can reach the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline 24/7 by calling or texting 988. Angela, thanks for joining us today.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks to you for listening to this week's 51%. 51% is a national production of WAMC Northeast Public Radio in Albany, New York. It's produced and hosted by me, Jesse King. Our associate producer is Jody Cowan, and our theme is Lolita by the Albany-based artist Girl Blue. Just a reminder that you can listen to 51% anytime at WAMCpodcast.org or wherever you get your podcasts. On social media, we're at WAMC Radio, and you can stay in the loop by signing up for our weekly newsletter Airwaves at WAMC.org. We hope you'll join us next week. Until then, I'm Jesse King for 51%.
I was every single girl, I was nobody else, I was so sure of myself. I was 15 and a half. He was a hollow laugh, and I lost my cool somewhere along the way. At night and down the hallway, I had to learn how to look away. I lost my cool.